The Trump administration is also increasing the pressure on Minnesota in light of the state's recent child care fraud scandal. This week, thousands of immigration agents were sent to the Twin Cities, but some say they're concerned about overreach. Jared Hill brings us the latest.
On January 28, 2026, at 3 a.m., the air in Minneapolis doesn't merely chill, it punishes. An unforgiving Arctic front has gripped the city, driving temperatures down to a brutal 6 degrees Fahrenheit minus 14 degrees Celsius. Near the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building in Fort Snelling, the pale, flickering streetlights cut through freezing fog, but the atmosphere carries far more than cold. It's thick with the raw tension of a confrontation long in the making. For weeks, this Midwestern metropolis has simmered as a flashpoint in the Trump administration's aggressive immigration crackdown, Operation Metro Surge, the largest federal immigration enforcement operation in U.S. history. Thousands of ICE and DHS agents, around 2,000 concentrated in the Twin Cities area alone, have flooded the region with a mandate for mass arrests, targeting a quota that many locals view as an overreach on sovereign state ground. In the biting wind, crowds have gathered, their breath clouding like gun smoke on a battlefield. They are protesters, activists, community members, faith leaders, and everyday residents, channeling fury toward the fortified federal complex. Behind reinforced glass and steel, federal tactical units stand ready, heavily armored in riot gear, backed by advanced surveillance, thermal imaging, and a clear directive for uncompromising enforcement. The agents project invincibility. Their arsenal includes Lenco Bearcat armored vehicles fitted with long-range acoustic devices capable of disorienting crowds at close range, along with 40mm launchers loaded for direct impact munitions, rounds that strike with knockout force. They operate under federal authority, seemingly insulated from local resistance, assuming the pressure of sustained operations and a targeted arrest surge would eventually wear down opposition. Yet the hubris of distant Washington has collided with an unyielding local defiance. Minnesota leaders, from the governor to city officials, have condemned the deployment as an invasion. Daily clashes, prior fatal shootings of U.S. citizens Renee Good and Alex Preddy by federal agents earlier in the month, and widespread outrage have transformed the streets into a theater of resistance. The protesters see not law enforcement, but an occupying force ignoring court orders, community pleas, and the brewing storm. As the wind howls and frostbite nips at exposed skin, the standoff teeters on the edge. The federal might, formidable, mechanized, and backed by national policy, faces a city that refuses to yield. In this frozen dawn, Minneapolis stands as ground zero for a deeper national reckoning. Federal power versus local sovereignty, enforcement versus humanity, and the question of how far either side will push before something breaks.
2,000 agents are reportedly in the state to arrest immigrants here illegally, with a focus on...
As the clock edges toward dawn, a fresh force arrives on the scene, reshaping the entire dynamic of the confrontation. The Minnesota National Guard, activated by Governor Tim Walz, steps in, not as distant federal enforcers, but as local citizen soldiers, neighbors in uniform. These troops don't arrive in dark tactical gear. Instead, they wear high-visibility neon vests layered over their standard OCP fatigues, signaling a clear distinction from federal units. Their gear is regulation issue, yet their mission diverges sharply from the expected escalation. A subtle tactical puzzle is playing out here, one that many major news outlets overlooked. Why did roughly 5,000 National Guard members position themselves in a way that effectively countered the federal line of advance? The strategic logic behind this placement will become clear shortly. While around 2,000 federal agents, primarily from ICE and Border Patrol, hunkered down, scanning through night vision scopes and bracing for a large-scale push, the Guard advances with measured intent. They aren't raising batons or prepping less lethal rounds. From the rear of sturdy Humvees, they unload supplies. The crunch of boots on icy pavement, typically a prelude to confrontation, tonight heralds something unexpected that leaves federal spotters stunned. In the dim glow near the buildings, beneath the gaze of federal snipers perched on rooftops, the Guard initiates its understated response. It isn't a lethal system or aggressive posture. It's a calculated gesture of goodwill that doubles as a powerful psychological counter. Steam curls upward from oversized industrial thermoses. The aroma of fresh coffee slices through the sharp, metallic chill of the winter air in Minneapolis. The National Guard isn't gearing up to confront the demonstrators. They're taking steps to preserve calm in a manner the federal side hadn't foreseen. Tensions hover at a razor's edge. federal directives on one flank, a community driven to its limit on the other, with the Guard positioned in between, observing, ready. Across the streets of the Twin Cities, a massive influx of immigration enforcement has unfolded. In Minneapolis, news crews captured exclusive footage of agents converging on targets. The quiet shatters not with gunfire, but with the simple sound of a plastic cup being filled. Then the real shift lands, not a blast of violence, but a wave of calculated resistance that ripples across DHS channels. On thermal displays, federal personnel stare in astonishment as Minnesota National Guard elements shift their formation. They don't rush the crowd. Instead, they approach steadily, arms loaded with hot chocolate and boxes of donuts. This marks the precise instant the de-escalation trap closes. A sophisticated psychological operation crafted to pull a city back from the brink of widespread unrest. On the ground, the contrasts are stark. Hissing steam from thermoses, the steady crunch of snow under boots, and the abrupt hush among protesters as they grasp that these soldiers aren't there to suppress them. Over federal radios, confusion erupts. Agents behind armored glass grapple with why their state counterparts are declining to back the crackdown. This single action didn't merely offer comfort, it removed the federal unit's rationale for aggressive force. With the crowd calming and the Guard providing aid, any move to strike would carry enormous political and legal repercussions. The fatal shooting of Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse, has inflicted deep wounds on this community, wounds unlikely to fade quickly. Many view the federal actions as crossing clear constitutional lines. If you support the people of Minnesota and demand accountability, type "justice" in the comments. Public pressure remains the one thing Washington insiders truly heed. As the situation intensifies this morning, reports confirm the Trump administration has deployed around 2,000 federal agents, including ICE personnel, to Minneapolis amid Operation Metro Surge. A secondary layer emerges, not firepower but advanced oversight. High above the Whipple Federal Building, state-operated drones launch, streaming live video straight to the governor's office, evading federal jamming. These Puma systems, fitted with Mantis I-45 electro-optical/infrared payloads, capture every detail. Agent positions, movements within structures, all relayed in real time. Disarray spreads through federal ranks. The 2,000 agents now sit isolated inside their own cordon. Their planned tools, flashbangs, batons, lose relevance against this display of community solidarity. The once impenetrable federal boundary begins eroding from within, dismantled by the very forces pledged to defend the state. Tensions spike when pro-federal provocateurs try to push through from the east. The Guard counters with a non-violent barrier. Massive Oshkosh labs roll into place, forming an immovable wall between factions. The vehicle's scale, paired with the troops' disciplined calm, creates an impassable divide. Inside the federal facility, frustration mounts. Preparations had anticipated chaos and violence, not a professional unit refusing to escalate. The standoff peaks as a federal hatch opens on an upper level. A riot launcher swings outward, but the Guard commander steps forward into the potential line of fire. He raises a hand, the international sign to stop. Behind him, thousands of troops hold formation in quiet resolve. The intent is unmistakable. Minnesota will not yield to pressure. The world pauses as a federal finger rests near the trigger. Yet no shot rings out. The commander's steady stance, reinforced by the Guard's iron wall, compels restraint. When federal teams previously moved on Lake Street targets, crowds formed rapidly to oppose perceived arrests of undocumented individuals. This moment represents full neutralization, not of people but of the escalation agenda. Through superior positioning, tech, and vehicle buffers, the Guard creates a sovereign buffer zone. It isn't solely about distributing food, it's about claiming the space between a determined federal force and an outraged population. This zone blocks violent fulfillment of any aggressive quotas. Now, the tactical breakdown. Why did this approach prevail? Intelligence-driven de-escalation. Thermal scans pinpointed high-tension pockets in the crowd, allowing targeted delivery of sustenance to cool those spots preemptively. This marks a profound evolution in conflict management, from kinetic dominance, bullets, explosives, to informational and environmental control. Federal reliance on outdated crowd control methods proved inadequate against modern psychological and state-level resolve. The Guard employed secure, mesh network comms immune to federal interference without self-sabotage. Drones mapped crowd sentiment, enabling proactive resource shifts to potential flashpoints. In Minneapolis's heavily Somali neighborhoods, Federal agents at times used pepper spray to push through obstructive crowds blocking vehicles. This episode previews future urban operations. Victory through non-kinetic means, winning hearts and minds without a shot fired. The lesson is evident. U.S. state-level military units have refined gray zone tactics. By mastering narrative and street atmosphere, outcomes tilt decisively. Federal overconfidence, expecting combat, met a force prioritizing citizen safety over remote mandates. The January standoff's aftermath speaks volumes. Damage, minimal. Casualties, none. Yet the broader implications loom large, a signal of internal resilience amid division. It warns adversaries that America's core power lies not only in weaponry, but in technical prowess and ethical grounding, even during domestic strain. Attorney General Keith Ellison's lawsuit delivers the legal parallel to the street-level maneuver, challenging the federal incursion as unconstitutional overreach. The surge has been checked not by force, but by law and decisive local governance. Alex Preddy's death lingers painfully. The community grieves, yet finds reassurance in local protectors willing to interpose themselves against perceived federal excess. This incident will be dissected in military academies for years. For ongoing coverage of this evolving situation and its ramifications for national security, subscribe and enable notifications. Your engagement helps sustain in-depth reporting on the realities behind the news. The cold fog over Minneapolis begins to lift, but the underlying strain endures. Federal elements may linger behind barriers, yet the streets remain with the people. The opening persists,